How did you find the last lesson? I hope you discovered an expanded perception of yourself. In this lesson, we are going to further explore this idea. Just as your thoughts can help you in life, they can also be a hindrance. In Module 1, we looked at negative beliefs and assumptions and our reactions which have restricted our freedom. We practiced awareness and letting go. In this lesson, I want to go a step further and look at how we use our thinking as a tool to take us where we want to go. Approaching life through the lens of unity consciousness is groundbreaking if you seek to step out of a mentality of powerlessness and into the impetus of a creator in a benevolent universe. Let's face it, we all have experiences which have wired us to make certain assumptions, and in which we can split the world into us and them. But we can be aware of this as we come up against stressors. What if we let go of our assumptions and the idea that we know what is going on and what should be happening? What if we could be more composed, seeing our circumstances as an experiment in life? We can be inquisitive and open and turn our focus to what we would prefer rather than chaining ourselves to what we do not prefer. This is key to finding the enjoyment we all seek. Remember meditation 4 and how you switched between the point at the center and the expanded state? Think of it in the way that light behaves as both a wave and a particle. The wave flows as part of the unity, but the particle comes about in a particular state when attention is focused on it. Can you remember the feeling inside of that beautiful, stable center? Focus on how good it feels to be the creator of life. You have a point of awareness from which you can find your preferences and then connect with the whole and allow the other dots to come together. You don't have to control everything. You just have to stay connected to your center, that place of well-being. As you go about your day, when you encounter a not good feeling, pause and recognize that the flow has been stopped. Take inventory. Be curious. Ask yourself what you're feeling. Ask why you're feeling that way. Are you making assumptions? Are you telling yourself a story about who you are and how your life is going to go? What do you need to let go of to feel better? What thoughts are helpful to you? You can make the decision to live in freedom and connection in every moment. I would like to offer another tool. This is more than affirmations, which may not work if they're only slogans that you do not truly believe in your core. What I would like you to come up with here are replacement thoughts that are born from the introspective work you did in Module 1 and which you continue to do. As you faced fears and released, I hope that you discovered they were false. From that basis, you can reaffirm what is now true for you. Get out your journal pages from Module 1 and pick some areas where you were feeling fear and other negative emotions, things you wanted to let go of. Press pause on the video and take a few moments to write down some meaningful new thoughts that you can think, things that feel good to you. Take something you used to believe but are letting go of and write down a replacement belief. Your journal pages for this lesson will have some examples to get your thoughts flowing. I love this quote by Esther and Jerry Hicks. You cannot continue to discuss, observe, and believe things in the same way you always have and make changes in your point of attraction. I'll give you an example from my life to help you think through this a little more. There was a time when I would always envision the worst-case scenario. Whatever was possible to go wrong in any given situation, particularly if it was very important to me, would roll over me like a runaway train. Beneath this was a deep mistrust of life. I could not immediately move to the belief that the universe was benevolent, but I could introduce doubt as to the negative outcome. I would say to myself, what if everything turns out all right? This was a game changer for me. Eventually, I was able to practice another thought. Everything always turns out for me. Start wherever you're at and take steps away from the falsehoods and restricting beliefs. I'll give you another, more concrete example to help you decide on ways to apply this to your own life. The instance I will talk about is a basic one relating to a typical life event and is nothing serious, but nonetheless important. So, a part of my fear-based outlook would involve anxiety about getting where I was going on time. I now live on a peninsula which can only be reached by ferry or a 4-day hike over the mountainous wilderness. The ferry schedule can be sparse at times and sailing's difficult to get on without a reservation. I'd gone into the city and was returning and somewhat panicked about being late for the sailing cutoff and getting a place on the boat. Rather than move forward with my typical fear gripping in the belly as I sped towards the freeway off-ramp, I first softened the feeling with, what if everything turns out all right? Then I started to picture the times I'd been late and waiting for hours in the parking lot. Yes, I've experienced what I did not want. But I refocused on what I did want. I pictured driving up to the booth, being waved forward, being led onto the ferry, and sailing home. I pulled up to the booth, paid, and went through, and was led on as the very last car. Even if I had not made it, I was prepared to focus on what I wanted and to not let anxiety steal my life. If I'd been parked in the waiting area, I would have redirected my desires to what to do next. Go for food and then read from my Kindle? But I believe that being the last person on the boat was a sign to me that I was headed in the right direction with my thoughts and the life that I wanted to create. Everyone has the choice of what they give their life to. I would expand on Adyashanti's words by saying that we have a choice in what we decide to give power to and how we frame the world we live in. I want to follow on the previous simple anecdote with one that was more of a test for me because of my personal history. Growing up, we always had pets, but they were always the family pet, and I never had one that was especially mine until one day when I was 11 and my father brought me a puppy. It was a reddish golden puppy, perhaps some type of spaniel. I called her Candy, and she was sweet. Fast forward a few months, and she had become my dearest companion. Then came the fateful day when someone went out of the yard and left the gate open. She ran out into the busy road and was run over and killed. I had to witness her mangled body and was understandably traumatized and went into a deep depression. I never had another dog until just a few years ago. We got a wonderful, amazing Brittany Spaniel who is such a joy. I went on a road trip to my hometown and she visited my mom's place for the first time. She was out playing in the yard for a few moments with my mom's dog while I caught up on some computer work. My mom was doing some gardening out there and was in and out of the house. She went out back again and my dog was gone. The gate was open. We don't know how it opened, whether the meter reader had come by or if the latch had failed. In any case, another potential catastrophe was upon me. I asked myself what I believed, and the answer was that everything was going to be okay. I went outside and began calling for her. A man across the street happened to open his garage door at that moment and said he'd seen a spaniel heading over to the neighbor's house to the right of my mom's. I went over there and they said they'd petted the dog, but her ID tag wasn't on, which is another weird story, and she only had her town tag on, which they didn't recognize. They'd been delivered a package and the courier had taken the dog. They were able to call the courier and she brought back my girl. During the looking and the waiting, I chose not to panic and relive my past experience. I felt like it was an opportunity to overcome a great fear I had and to experience a different outcome. For your homework, I would like you to practice awareness as you move through each day and to focus on areas in which you need to do more letting go and work on your own list of personal reframing decisions. Develop a framework for re-envisioning your life. Additionally, choose a time to meditate daily, listening to one of the 4 meditations from the previous lessons.